Greetings and salutations, old friends, and hopefully some new friends. Boy, today has been an extremely long day. Uh, Recently, I decided that I'm really not working hard enough on the show, uh, taking some stock and being honest with myself, taking days off at a time in between topics or shows. I have a great deal of sort of behind the scenes things that I need to do, technology wise and setup wise. Um, and I've had some big projects on my list of things to do for quite some time now. One moment. Sorry if you hear a buzz there. I have the worst room in my house. The air conditioning doesn't work in the summer, and the heat barely works in the winter. So I have this electric space heater. So one of the projects that's been on my list of things to do for probably probably a year or more is someone happened to gift me a VHS copy, a VHS tape of Bob Lazar's original excerpts from the government Bible, which is sort of his original, I put lecture on alien technology in quotes in the promos that I posted on Twitter. So it's not only is it VHS, but like if you've got a movie on VHS, then that movie was done with, high quality cameras or film cameras, and then it was transferred to VHS from a master. And Bob Lazar and his friend Gene Huff just kind of got some VCR cameras, like, early VHS cameras. And I believe they may have produced that on an Amiga 2000 computer with a video toaster, uh, which is something near and dear to my heart. That was the first way that you could make your own almost broadcast quality videos, but the quality really depended on the quality of the cameras you were using. And apparently, Bob Lazar and Gene Huff used pretty shitty cameras because it's terrible quality. And then put on VHS. I think how the original Amiga video toast would work is just basically you're switching different video sources from different places and then making a master tape. And then they apparently dubbed the VHS tapes. I could be wrong. This is speculation, but it appears to me from the quality of what I got, and it was printed. It was like it was a commercial product, but it was terrible quality. So I wanted to get that digitized and then see if I could digitally enhance it and restore it so that it would look good on even like a 50-inch or a 70-inch television. And I'm happy to say that, sometimes projects that we dread and are on our list of things to do, we think they're going to take forever. And that's why maybe it didn't take that long. But it was a good portion of my day today to get that digitized, get it into my video editor. I color corrected it. I auto exposed it in different spots so that it looks worlds better. And I wanted that to be preserved because, quite honestly, that was part of my childhood. Originally, I sent away for that tape when I was, I don't know, 14 or something like that, maybe younger. Yeah, probably younger. Um, it was advertised in the back, as best I can recall, of Popular Science magazine. Popular Science magazine had these classifieds, and if you were into science and weird fringe science, they had Information Unlimited, where you could order like a laser gun kit, or like an ion ray generator kit, or like powerful electromagnets, laser parts, robot parts. I always loved the classifieds in the back of Popular Science magazine growing up. And one day, first of all, I believe that the first time I saw mention of Bob Lazar was on uh, some sort of national television coverage of like 11 o'clock news of the story breaking out of Las Vegas about this former government physicist that worked on flying saucers in a secret base, right? And some months later, I saw the ad and I wanted to know more. So I begged my father to help me, and my father was old school, like, well, you're going to need $29.95 and $3.95 shipping and handling, son. So I had to go. And as I recall, I literally shoveled people's walks in the snow and did some yard work for somebody to get the $35 or $34 to give to my father, who then got some stamps and, and probably I remember waiting and every day being mad at the mailman. So probably 2 months later, this VHS tape arrived and I got to first see this Bob Lazar explaining his time at that secret base and, how the flying saucers worked. So I suppose, like I said, even though years later I would come to learn that Bob Lazar is just another con man selling a fake story for cash, who has famously said that he's never made any money from this, but yet has tried to cash in every chance he's gotten, from a tester's model deal. He got royalties and a big upfront payment so that they could make models of the flying saucers that he claimed he worked on, to this VHS tape that he was advertising in the back of a magazine and selling, right? To high paid conference appearances, to lately, he's got a big book deal and just moved to what some have described as a $1 million property for his home and business. So, yeah. And by the way, Bob Lazar owes me $29.95 plus $3.95 shipping and handling, because I was one of the victims, a young boy so interested in this stuff, that was fascinated and thought, yeah, I want to know more about Bob Lazar. I'll pay the $30. And my story is kind of stupid and sad, right? Young and searching for something greater than myself. And this guy's got the proof that aliens are real. So, of course, years later, I would come to realize that Bob Lazar made up the story. And it's just not credible. His education is fake. Lots of things about him are fake. He later turned into a pimp who was running a whorehouse. That was after he decided he worked on flying saucers. He decided that running a whorehouse would be a good business move for him. And I'm sorry, but real senior staff level physicists don't just wake up one day and say, you know what, I'm going to go partners with this madam on a whorehouse. That's not something scientist kind of people do. Just my opinion. But it really does speak to his credibility. Getting off in the weeds again, as I'm prone to do when I talk about some of these guys. So I suppose my point was that tape, it reminds me of my childhood and my start of being interested in these strange subjects about aliens and UFOs and flying saucers and back engineered technology and secret government black projects, which interestingly is something that my father was into. He got aviation magazines and popular science magazines every month, and he was really big into aviation. I don't believe that I've ever mentioned it here before, but my father was actually a helicopter mechanic during Vietnam. And he had an intense interest in any machine that flew. He had an intense interest in. Interestingly, except for flying saucers, I would try to show him things and talk to him about flying saucers, and he would say, "Son, that's horse shit." And I was always kind of angry because he loved anything that flew. He loved blimps. He loved hot air balloons. He loved zeppelins. He loved airplanes, jet fighters. He loved gyrocopters, helicopters. He worked on helicopters for a time in Vietnam. But when I would try to show him stuff from like a UFO book, like pictures of Billy Meyer's spacecraft, famous Billy Meyer photos, I had them in a book that I had gotten from the library. And knowing my father's love for all things that flew, I would say, "Dad, look at this. Isn't this cool? It must have some kind of exotic propulsion system." And he would say, "No, son, that's horse shit." That's what he said every time I showed him something. Even when Popular Science had an article about something like a flying saucer designed aircraft, or some of the concept designs for things like the Aurora or next generation spy planes. And I'd say, see, look, this looks like a flying saucer. And he said, no, son, it looks like an advanced airplane. It doesn't look like a flying saucer. Flying saucers are horse shit. And I still think about him saying that UFOs and flying saucers are horse shit a lot. And my point being, I suppose I wanted to restore this tape because it reminded me of not only my childhood and my, the seed, part of the seed that was planted of getting interested in all this craziness, but also it reminds me of my father. And for those that don't know, my father died when I was pretty young. I was in my early 20s. And boy, anything that would remind me of him is something that I would like, right? So I spent some time today and I restored I didn't restore the original tape that I bought. I wish that I still had it. As I recall, mine had a different cover, sort of like black and white, hand copied from a photocopier cover, right? Not like what would be produced later. And I put that graphic in the video. So I did my best to restore that so that it looks decent. It looks much better than it ever did on VHS tape, that's for sure. It looks better. It looks decent on my 50-inch TV, and I believe it'll still even look decent on a 70-inch TV. So, hey, there's my public service to anybody who also began their interest or sort of had an interest in that growing up. It's restored and digitally enhanced to look the best that it can be, and it's there for history. For the sake of history and for the sake of educating the public about the curious character that is Bob Lazar, yeah, I wanted to do that. And despite me calling him a con man 100 times over the past several years, both on my radio show and on this show, there's just something about that story that will always be, close to me. I remember watching. My father wouldn't watch the whole thing, but he did watch a portion of it with me. I watched it 100 times when I got it, right? I was trying to draw flying saucers and how else could you configure these gravity generate? I watched it 100 times, but my father wouldn't watch the whole thing. But I would get him to watch, just watch 5 minutes of this and tell me what you think. And my father sat there and he watched 5 minutes of Bob Lazar explaining how that flying saucer flew and worked. And he looked at me and he said, "You want to know what I think?" And I said, "Yeah, Dad, what do you think of this?" And he said, "I think this is horse shit." And he walked away. So there's the Bob Lazar story of my childhood. I always found it so curious that my father was so interested in anything that flew, but when it came to flying saucers, UFOs, he just said they were horse shit. And I guess, I don't know, he was sort of kind of serious, no nonsense. He was in the military. And, I guess he looked at things like flying saucers and the same way that he looked at the Loch Ness Monster or Bigfoot, it's horse shit. So anyway, again, I'm way off in the weeds here. Let me try to get back to center. My point when I started the show was I had a very long day. That's one of the things I did today. Another thing that I wanted to do today, again, Bob Lazar related, I had a very Bob Lazar centric day so far, which I'm hoping we're going to pivot now to a different thing. But someone had shared with me a very, very early interview between George Knapp and Bob Lazar. And I'm not going to spill the beans yet of why that interview is important or why I believe that Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp and Bob Lazar don't want anybody to see it. There's a few things there that are different than he stated post that interview for the last 30 years. I think he fucked up in that interview, admitting a few things. And we're going to dive into that on another show. Tonight is actually, I struggle right now. Sometimes I really do suffer from CRS, right? Can't remember shit. I just titled the show like an hour ago. Let's see. Yes, so tonight's show is Debunking David Wilcocks' Fake Conspiracies. Catching David Wilcock selling lies. Again. Yes, again! I wasn't going to cover any more of that video. But then probably 3 different people sent me timestamps and said, "You're not going to talk about this? This is crazy." And I went, "I don't want to watch this." But then I did. And here we are. And I just, listen, I could not believe that this idiot, David Wilcock, pardon me, I have to get better at this. I don't want to get personally insulting. That this person whose research is deplorable, David Wilcock, let's put it that way. This person whose vetting skills are non-existent, this person who will run with any story, no matter how fantastical or, no matter how little proof there is that this could even maybe possibly be real, he runs with the story. And when I saw who he was quoting as the source of this story that he was selling and peddling, I could not believe it. I couldn't believe it, friends. I couldn't believe it. And the ridiculousness of this specific thing we're going to cover tonight is probably the most ridiculous thing that I've heard David Wilcock talk about so far, ever. Like, it's just that ridiculous and so implausible and so impossible that this story that he's talking about could be anything but, someone's fictional imaginings. But here we are. And again, I keep harping on this, but it's important. David Wilcock lives in a $1 million mansion, and his sole source of income is talking about fake shit. He lives a millionaire's lifestyle. And what value does he offer the world? 0. David Wilcock has 0 value to humanity. He collects money from stupid people telling stupid stories that are fake and don't exist and aren't real and are essentially fairy tales, while he's living in a $1 million house paid for by stupid people who send him money to hear him tell fairy tales. The problem, I have no problem with people who want to sell fiction. That's fine. People need an escape. But let them know it's fiction. Don't present it as real. This is true. It is, because I had dreams, prophetic dreams about it. It must be true. My source said it's true. The one I just made up, he's anonymous. It would be dangerous for him to, come out in public with his real name. So we can't name him or any of the other horse shit. To quote my father, David Wilcock is horse shit. All of David Wilcock's stories are horse shit. In fact, horse shit has more value to humanity than David Wilcock or any of his stories do. Horse shit has more value than any of the information in David Wilcock's books, any of them. Horse shit is worth more. Horse shit is worth more than any of David Wilcock's books. Horse shit is worth more than any of David Wilcock's television shows. Horse shit is more valuable than anything David Wilcock has done or offered humanity. Horse shit. David Wilcock is worse than horse shit then. And that's where we find ourselves, wondering why a guy gets to live a millionaire lifestyle while his information is worth less than horse shit. Wondering why he gets to live in a $1 million mansion while the stories he's presenting as factual and real are worthless and horse shit is worth more than what he's offering. So I guess from now on, if anybody says, hey, Steve, what do you think of David Wilcock? I'm going to think of my father. I will. And I'm going to say, that's horse shit. But we're still going to cover it tonight. Why? Because he makes it easy. He makes it, his stories are so fucking ridiculous. A child could point out why this being reality or anything close to reality is impossible. He makes it easy. He makes life for me easy. People like for these stories to be picked apart. And his are the easiest to pick apart because he's the laziest of these clowns that I know. And he, no matter how many, listen, he loves these fucking, look, I did 50 slides. You don't get credit if you've got 50 slides of fucking horse shit. It's still horse shit. You could have 1,000 slides. It's still horse shit. Horse shit is horse shit. You don't get credit. I spent 10 hours making these 50 slides of my horse shit. We got a lot of slides to get through. It's all horse shit, but I made 50 of them. You don't get credit. Horse shit plus horse shit plus more horse shit is still horse shit. Or bullshit. Pick your shit. It's shit. It's shit, David Wilcock. Nobody cares how many fucking slides you make. Because it's all slides full of lies and fake shit. It has no value to the human race. You have no value to the human race. If you keep going down this road that you've been going down, becoming increasingly and increasingly more desperate to be relevant somehow to the world. But you're not relevant to the world while you're knowingly, willingly, and with great and deliberate effort selling the world your lies and living in that $1 million house. How do you feel when you're sitting in your living room looking around your $1 million house? Do you go, I did real good selling bullshit today. I deserve this house. And even though all those people that I'm selling these stories to don't know that all these stories are fake, I feel good about myself. I can look myself in the mirror and say, I have value to this world. I have value to my customers. You just have no value, David Wilcock. You can't look me in the eye and tell me that you feel good doing this shit every day. You can't look anyone in the eye, including yourself. You can't look at yourself in the mirror and think, I feel good about myself selling people fake, fantastical stories that have no basis in reality every day of my life. I feel good about myself doing that. You know, I'm a good person. A good person would not steal money from stupid people selling hopium and fear porn so that you can live a millionaire's lifestyle. Does that make you feel good, right? And David Wilcock, hey, some people may say, I'm simply jealous because you've got more money than me. No, I don't think so. I don't think so, David Wilcock. I wouldn't want to wake up every day and have to lie to people, including myself, I guess. How do you live with yourself? How do you stay sane? You've got to lie to yourself, right? And say, well, at least it's entertainment. I'm selling these people an escape from reality because reality kind of sucks right now. So does false hope. False hope sucks, right? You can excuse yourself any way you wish, David Wilcock. What you do is fucking deplorable. What you do is disgusting, especially putting yourself out there as some kind of love and light guy, right? You're love and light. You're love and light, right? But you're hanging out with court-martialed child molesters, right? You're hanging out with Steven Tyler, right? Even though you talk about those mole children, right? And those the satanic pedophiles, but you're hanging out with Steven Tyler. Look him up. Look him up, friends. Is that somebody you should be proud of hanging out with after you've railed against these elite satanic pedophiles? There's a proven pedophile in that case. And one of your sources, a court-martialed pedophile, right? No. I'm not at all jealous of you. I can honestly say that to my knowledge, unless there's a closeted one, or I don't know anybody that I don't hang out with, anyone that's of that particular problematic persuasion, right? And as far as your money, well, I guess I learned at one point that money truly can't make me happy. It can buy you things. It can give you a good bit of security. But I have a feeling, knowing what I know about your mortgage payment, right? What did you put down? You put down $300,000 on that house, right? And the house was it $1.1 million? So you've got a mortgage of like $700,000 or $800,000. That must translate into $7,000 or $8,000 a month, or something like that. It's been a long time since I've had to calculate a mortgage payment. I live as debt-free as possible. And in fact, I'm happy to say that, except for, I don't really know what's on, maybe a few $100s on one credit card. I don't have any personal debt. My car's paid for, everything I own is paid for. So, no, I'm not jealous of David Wilcock because he owes $800,000 on a house big enough for 25 people to live in. But he's living there himself because, he's a big star. He's a fucking rock star, right? No, I'm not jealous of him. Certainly not of his money. And, but we're still going to cover some of this ridiculous shit because I think that people deserve to be educated about this millionaire who's selling lies for a living and living a millionaire's lifestyle. I don't think that's right. I don't think so. I don't think that somebody should be able to live a millionaire lifestyle while the only value that they're giving people is delusions, right? And fake shit. It's fantasy land. That's what he sells. But this is the way of our world, and people so desperately need an escape that they're willing to believe anybody that can sell them a little hopium. So for 20 years, that's what Wilcock has done. Telling us we're going to get light bodies in 2012, and oh, fuck, that didn't happen. Oh, shit, I got to go away for a little while. And let's see, his latest stupid prediction was that Donald Trump was going to win the presidential election by a landslide. And he didn't even have the courtesy to go away for a little while until people forgot that he predicted Donald Trump was going to win the presidential election by a huge landslide. At least go away for a while so people forget your dumb fucking fake psychic predictions. Jesus Christ. He didn't even go away. He just came right back like, oh shit, it's all part of the plan, friends. It's all been planned out. Hey, what about that prediction? People asked him that in his live chat. He didn't answer the question. You know why? Because he can't. He can't give up the grift. So tonight, friends, we're going to be covering his latest live stream, which is titled David Wilcock and Daniel Brinkley, UFO Disclosure, Prophecies Coming True. For those that don't know, last night we proved that he ran with this Galactic Federation story that turns out to be complete and total horseshit in this same video. But tonight we're going to cover a separate conspiracy theory that is easily proven to be horseshit that he covered. I'm going to cite fair use, friends. But first, I would like to give some attention to the live chat. We're just going to give some shout outs. Let's go. I'm going to try to go from the top, see if I get everyone. Lamont Cranston is here. Shout out to Lamont Cranston, first in the live chat. Lamont Cranston. Lee Veltman is here. Shout out to Lee Veltman. Shout out to Jonaside and Casey Palomero. I'm sorry. Palermo. Six's Design is here. Shout out to Six's Design. Shout out to PBR Street Gang. Jonaside, of course. Victor Sarge. Let's see. We got Lee, Lamont. Bunya is here. V is here. Always happy to see V. Shout out to V. And Charles Unleashed is here. KB is here. I don't think I've seen you. I haven't seen you in a while. I hope you are doing well. Happy holidays. Good to see you, KB. Mario Heat, back for the attack. I'm happy to see you, bro. What's the weather like in Canada? Shout out to Mario Heat. Spudwife is here. Always happy to see Spudwife. For those that don't know, follow Spudwife on Twitter because she posts a lot of stuff about these con artists. That's funny, and it's good information to know. And let's see, we have Renee. Miss Jonaside is here. Greetings and salutations, Renee, Miss Jonaside. Nice to see you. Paul Cargo is here. Conspiracy. I'm sorry. I remembered this time. I called this guy Conspiracy for like a month until he corrected me. It's just a clever way, Khanspiraci. It's a clever way of saying conspiracy. Conspiracy. William Pixley is here. Paul Cargo. I think we got everybody. Charles Unleashed. Biden Ballot Changer is here. Shout out. And yeah, I think we got everybody. If I missed you, please let me know in the live chat. Mario Heat says in Canada, it's been 8 to 15 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm asking you because that shit's coming down here next. And I'm mad at you Canadian assholes. I can't go to the cabin this week because the weather is going to be that bad. They're going to get 20 inches of snow at the cabin, and it's going down to 10 or something like that. And the heat in my car just stopped working. And it's $1,100 to get the heat in my car repaired. Something about a computer board that's $900. I'm so mad. But it is what it is. But that's why I wondered about the weather in Canada, because that's a Canadian cold front that's coming down here and fucking with us, thanks to you Canadian people. Why don't you put like a big wall up in the atmosphere to keep your cold Canadian shit air where it is? We don't want it. So, friends, we're gonna go through this. We gotta motor through this. And again, this is David Wilcock's latest live stream titled David Wilcock and Daniel Brinkley, UFO disclosure prophecies coming true. But none of them will, and none of them have, and none of these UFO prophecies are real. They're only in his imagination. But hey, we're gonna amuse ourselves watching this millionaire hanging out in his millionaire house with his friend that was supposed to die any minute a few months ago so that he could sell a course. Hurry up and buy the course. Daniel could die any day now. This may be his last course. It was months ago. Did you apologize to all those people that you took money from? Isn't that a form of consumer fraud, implying that somebody's going to die any day? So you should buy this course right away. And then months and months after you were selling that course, he's still hanging out with you, living in your house, and he's not dead yet? Even though he died 4 times and came back from the dead 4 times, according to him. And just coincidentally, your housemate died 4 times and came back from the dead 4 times. And we're all supposed to believe that it's a coincidence that every time he needed to write a new book and needed money, he died again and came back from the dead and had more stories to tell us about dying and coming back from the dead. That's David Wilcock's housemate, Daniel Brinkley. What a fucking character. That dude's made a living selling stories about dying and coming back from the dead for decades now. Good partners in slime, right? Almost better than Wilcock's previous partner in slime, I think. I don't know. I kind of like this guy's story better, Daniel, right? I died and I talked to angels. And so he died and talked to angels. You know, David Wilcock's other partner in slime, he, was in a secret space program and talked to angelic bluebird beings, not angels. Anybody see any similarities here? And why the fuck is David Wilcock always hanging out with people telling these crazy fucking stupid stories with no basis in fact and no fucking evidence about anything they talk about? Because he believes them. He's that stupid. He's that stupid. He believes these people. I'm starting to believe it. For a time, I thought that he knew this shit was all fake and he was just selling people fake shit because it afforded him a millionaire's lifestyle and he figured out he can make a lot of money selling this horse shit. But I'm starting to believe that he really believes these clown friends of his. And that, my friends, is even sadder. It's even sadder. So, well, first of all, let me put my fair use banner up here. And I'm going to say this again, David Wilcock, don't you dare try to copyright strike me. I have very good lawyers and I have a lawyer letter standing by in the case of any copyright claims that come my way from you. And that letter, so far, my attorney letter that I've been using to combat anybody who is unfairly, unjustly, and illegally. By the way, it's illegal for you to copyright strike me when I'm citing fair use. It's against the law. Anyway, the letter that I've been using from my lawyer to defend unjust, unfair copyright strikes or claims, we are so far 10 for 10. I've fought 10 copyright claims, and in all 10, we won. So, I'm just mentioning this because David Wilcock likes to copyright strike people because he doesn't like for people to know or get the breakdown of the fairy tales and the horse shit that he's selling people. He doesn't like to be embarrassed when people see how ridiculously fake and fraudulent his stories are. So he routinely will send somebody a cease and desist letter, or he will copyright strike somebody, privacy strike. He also privacy striked, it was Stina Maria, who did a video about him starting basically a charity to avoid paying taxes. So David Wilcock privacy struck her or something, which was unjust and unfair and unjustified. And I believe that got overturned. And I think, so he likes to try to bully people, right? He likes to try to bully people who play clips of him telling these fairy tales. He just likes to try to bully people. He doesn't want people to know the truth because he's a coward, right? If he had nothing to hide, he wouldn't care. He wouldn't care about us critiquing what he's talking about. He'd be able to defend the legitimacy of the claims that he makes in this following video. But he won't do that. He may copyright strike me, claim copyrights, or otherwise try to bully me to get my video, my broadcast tonight taken down. We will not be intimidated. I have a lawyer letter standing by. I believe very strongly in the work that I do here and the benefit it has to those who are still struggling in conspiracy land, thinking they got red pilled and this is all real. I'm the second red pill, David Wilcock. Don't you dare copyright strike me. So I'm going to cite fair use. This is a transformative work because we're educating the public. And we are critiquing the video that is being shared. We're going to be discussing the information that is shared, both in the live chat and here on the show. This is the definition of fair use. So, David Wilcock, it's perfectly legal for me to do this, and I defend myself. Okay, I don't lay down and get bullied by some millionaire selling lies to people who doesn't want people to know he's selling lies. You're not going to bully me. I got the lawyer letter. I'm ready to go. Just in case you want to waste your time, we'll do that. Let's dance. Okay? So let's share this shit show. And here we go. Oh, and by the way, this is a point that should be made. 234,000 views. I could say a lot about bot farms in China and Malaysia and Indonesia. especially being a person with a computer science background, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to direct you. I thought of a very good experiment. Uh, I would like to direct you to any video of any of the other, let's say, stars of Ancient Aliens on YouTube and compare how many views they get versus David Wilcocks' views here in this video, which is currently 234,000, and this was just streamed December 12th. So in 3 days, he got 234,000 views. Now, I want you to go look up that George Suckalukis guy, with the big hair, or David Childress, or anybody else that was a regular on Ancient Aliens, and just look at them doing a live stream or a lecture, even one from a year ago, right? And tell me how many views those guys have versus David Wilcock. And this may give you a light bulb moment when you realize the mirage, the deception that David Wilcock is trying to weave here. And I know a thing or two about illusions. The problem with illusions is they can't last, right? They just can't last. So I'm not making any claims about his view counts. I'm questioning his view counts and encouraging others to do some research into his view counts, and let me know what you think in the comments below here, or let me know in the live chat. So let's get into the meat of this shit show. And again, this is titled David Wilcock and Daniel Brinkley, UFO Disclosure Prophecies Coming True. This is fair use. This is a transformative work. We're going to educate the public about the lies and fairy tales that this millionaire has been selling lately. This from December 12th. This is the freshest sale of lies. And by the way, I can say that with confidence because this is a monetized video. He's getting paid to sit there and tell these lies.
You can think about it and extrapolate from there.
Let's go to the next slide.
Absolutely. So what's happening now is that okay, well, this just...
I'm sorry, we have to go back already. The first slide. Sorry, friends. I missed
your
it.
figure is going to
it.
become very important, folks. And you can think about it and extrapolate from there.
Let's go to the next slide.
Absolutely. So what...
Boy, we're starting with some big horse shit here. Keeping America together. There is also word within intelligence circles that the states of California, Oregon, and Washington, plus New York, might actually try to secede from the Union if Trump gets 4 more years. Why would any of this matter? Because Trump lost the election. He's not getting 4 more years. And may need to be forcibly brought back under U.S. control, the same way renegade southern states were handled back in the 1860s Civil War. Okay, so there is word within intelligence circles. Can we see your sources, David Wilcock? What fucking sources in intelligence circles would even talk to you? The guy from Ancient Aliens, the falling star, right? The guy who talks about aliens and crazy shit on the History Channel. What guys in the intelligence community are talking to you? Can we have their names? Can we verify their employment with those intelligence agencies? There is word within intelligence circles. This is the sort of NLP that he uses. And it is a very careful way of wording things so it sounds like it's credible, but he doesn't actually have to prove any of it. It's, as my father would say, this is horse shit.
What's happening now is that okay, well, this just happened, folks. The day after that article came out that I just read to you saying that we are being threatened and that all these assets are already in place, we have this news report that says Wisconsin-based F-16 crashes in MI. Isn't that an interesting place and an interesting time for allegedly routine training, right? Like a fighter pilot can't figure out how to drive a training flight. Give me a break.
You're an idiot. I got to stop doing that. I apologize. I apologize, Mr. Wilcock, for calling you an idiot or calling you stupid or insulting you at all during right up to this point in the broadcast. And I'm going to try my very best to be a better human being and not do that. So, yeah, I grew up spending summers right next to McGuire Air Force Base. And I can tell you this, planes crash. Even training planes crash. McGuire Air Force Base trained people with F-4 Phantoms. And there were several times when a person conducting a fairly routine training flight over the woods surrounding the cottage where we lived would zig when he should have zagged. Mechanical failure, pilot error, something went wrong during a training flight, and tragically, the plane crashed. This happens. Training flight is a training flight. It's not a very experienced pilot, right? Or it's a pilot training in some form or mission that he's maybe not familiar with. Mistakes happen. The fact that an airplane during a training flight went down is not a conspiracy. It happens all the time. Look it up. And Mr. Wilcock would have known that had he looked it up. You can Google amount of training flights in the military that crash per year, and you can get statistics for every year. But he didn't do that because that's what a good researcher would do. He didn't do that because that's what somebody who's really after the truth would do, hearing this story. But he's not gonna go after the truth. He's gonna concoct some ridiculous conspiracy theory here. And I want to say this, it's in my notes before I forget. How dare this spoiled rich boy millionaire living in his $1 million house sit around with his idiot friend that died 4 times or claimed to die 4 times, talking about this poor pilot who went down, right? Concocting conspiracy theories off the tragedy that man flying that plane just suffered. But Mr. Wilcock is love and light, right? He's love and light. That's a real love and light thing to do. How do you, Mr. Wilcock, think that the wife or son or brother or cousin or father or mother of that pilot would feel about you making up fake stories after their son, daughter, cousin, brother, father? How do you think his family, all of his family, feel about you living in your $1 million house, selling a conspiracy about their loved one who tragically went down in a horrific plane crash, in an accident? How do you think they feel, Mr. Love and Mr. Light? Is that a love and light thing to do, to cause people that are already suffering more suffering? Because that's what you're doing here, whether you realize it or not. How do you think the family of that pilot feels?
And where is it? But where is the plane based out of?
So let me just read this to you, folks. Sorry, it didn't animate it. I didn't have enough time. There's so much going on. A Wisconsin-based fighter jet crashed in a national forest in MI's Upper Peninsula, the upper part, right where everything was happening. While on a training mission, and searches were looking Wednesday for the pilot, who was the only person aboard. They have not found the pilot. This is very important.
Yes, and to my knowledge, I believe that they found the pilot dead. So he died in the plane crash. It is extremely rude to this man's family to use him in this manner, to use a dead man to sell fake stories so that he can live in $1 million house and live a millionaire's lifestyle. But he's love and light, right? He's not taking advantage of a dead man that just suffered a tragedy. He's not taking advantage of that dead man's family. He's not hurting that dead man's family, telling these fake fairy tale conspiracy theories, right? David Wilcock, how do you think that guy's family feels about you using the tragedy of their loved one dying in a plane crash to sell fake stories so that you can collect super chat donations. How do you think they feel knowing that's happening? I'm going to see if we can contact them, and I'm going to ask them how they feel about it. Maybe we can interview some of them.
The F-16 Fighting Falcon assigned to the WI Air National Guard's 115th Fighter Wing at Truax Field Air National Guard Base in Madison crashed at about 8 p.m. on Tuesday, according to the WI Department of Military Affairs. The cause of the crash, as well as the status of the pilot, were not immediately known, the statement said. The plane went down in Hiawatha National Forest, about 250 miles northeast of the base. Captain Leslie Westmont, a spokeswoman for the 115th, said she had no new information late Wednesday afternoon.
So, we talked about this before. This is what this guy does. He just goes on the internet and finds something that he think he can weave into a fairy tale to sell people lies so he can keep on keeping on with this, super chat donation machine that he's got rolling. I don't have the strength to do it, but I'd like a volunteer from the audience. And listen, here's what we got to do. I would really like for somebody to go through this chat and count up and tabulate exactly how much money he made during this stream, because I want to let that pilot's family know that's how much money he made during this stream, selling lies about their loved one. They deserve to know that.
How close was it to the Canadian border?
Exactly. How close? It is literally right on the border. That part of Michigan, the top part, is that little part on the top of the state, right below Canada, right around the Great Lakes. And at least what Turner is getting, Hal, on his intel.
Stop the presses. Who did he just mention here? Hal Turner. That's his source for this story. Oh, we're going to get into Hal Turner. Have you heard of Hal Turner? Because I have. The source that Mr. Light and Love, millionaire, living in $1 million house, using the tragedy of a dead pilot to sell fake stories so he can collect super chat donations. The source that he's using for this story, friends, the source that he's using is Hal Turner. And that's his only source. And in a moment, I'm going to continue this, and we're going to see him admit that he hasn't corroborated any of this information. And he doesn't have, a second source to prove any of this is real. This is just intel. It's not intel. It's fake stories from another guy who's out there selling fake stories and conspiracies. It's not intel.
Which we have not actually been able to confirm this with our own sources. I want to be very clear on this. Right now, this is rumor. This is speculation. Don't hold me to it if it turns out to be a legitimate crash. But the timing is extremely suspect. And for what it's worth, Hal's insiders said that it was actually shot down.
Hal's insider. Who's Hal's insider? Can we get his name? We know the quality of David Wilcocks' insiders. Let's see. He's got a court-martialed child molester. That's one of his insiders. A fake science and technology advisor to Ronald Reagan, who never worked for Ronald Reagan, right? He's got Corey Good. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to laugh there. That was rude too. That was not very journalistic or professional of me. That's one of his government insiders. Who else has he got? They're all problematic. So, I'm going to share this. We're going to just go to the Wikipedia page about Hal Turner, and we're going to learn more about David Wilcocks' source for this story. And by the way, he is, just admit it, this is all rumors. This may be all rumors. This may be rumors and speculation. You're spreading rumors and speculation about the tragedy of a pilot who crashed, landed, and died so that you can collect super chat donations and get ad revenue? Is that what you're doing here? Because that's what it looks like you're doing here, bro. And if that's the case, that's deplorable. That's a deplorable thing to do to that poor man's family. And what's the source? What's the source that he's using? Even though it may be rumors and speculation, what's the source that he's using? The source that he's using is Hal Turner. And let's go to the Wikipedia article about Hal Turner. But before we do, you have to remember that this is Mr. Love and Light. David Wilcock, he's Mr. Love and Light. He's a psychic. He's enlightened, right? He's the guy that's been talking about us getting light bodies. He's the guy that does these world meditations, right? World peace. Let's do a world peace meditation. Hey, David Wilcock, why don't you do a meditation about not ripping people off or hurting dead people's families? That would be a good meditation that you should take up. Maybe you should meditate every day about that poor guy's family and how you're using a dead man and hurting his family so that you can make money. Why don't you meditate about that, David Wilcock? Let's look at Hal Turner, your source. Harold Charles Hal Turner is an American far-right political commentator and convicted felon from North Bergen, New Jersey. Gee, why are all of David Wilcock's sources criminals or pedophiles or pathological liars? That's the quality of his sources. This is his source, Hal Turner, a convicted felon. Turner's viewpoints typically encompassed, let's see, Holocaust denial. Wow, that's real love and light of you, using that guy as a source, because he's a Holocaust denier. Conspiracy theory. Oh, and white supremacy. Wow, how love and light of you, David Wilcock, to use a white supremacist as your source for a story about a man who died in a plane crash tragically so that you could collect super chat donations and ad revenue on YouTube. You, Mr. Love and Light, are using a white supremacist, Holocaust denying conspiracy theorist that's a convicted felon. Great. And Hal Turner calls for assassination of government officials in August 2010. He was convicted for making threats against 3 federal judges with the 7th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals, for which he spent 2 years in prison. Turner has sporadically hosted the Hal Turner Show, usually on shortwave radio station WBCQ since 2002. This is the quality of his source. Mr. Love and Light is quoting and citing as a source a white supremacist, Holocaust-denying conspiracy theorist that's a convicted felon. Great. And I was going to share more of this about Hal Turner, but I don't think we need to get into the specifics. I think that's enough to prove my point, right? So let's get back to the video. Now that we know the high quality of David Wilcock's source of this story about a pilot who tragically died recently during a training flight. Real love and light of you, David Wilcock. Such love and light, embracing and helping a white supremacist, Holocaust-denying conspiracy theorist that's a convicted felon spread his fairy tale stories, right? Such love and light from David Wilcock, right? I'm sure the family of that pilot really appreciate what you're doing here, really like it, that you're using his tragic death, right? And a story that you're citing from a white supremacist, Holocaust-denying conspiracy theorist that's a convicted felon who threatened federal judges and spent jail time for it. I'm sure that pilot's family are really happy you're doing this, David Wilcock. Fuck, you're a piece of shit. All right, look, I did it again. I'm getting a very fucking emotional, pardon my French, because I keep thinking about that poor pilot's family while he's doing this, while he's making money from this horse shit. And it upsets me. And I'm human, and it should upset me. But I'm going to try to conduct myself better and not personally insult him. And I'd like to take a moment just to say that the purpose of this video is not to, certainly not to threaten, intimidate, harass, belittle, personally insult, or certainly not to cyberstalk anyone or anything like that. My sole purpose here is to let people know the truth about what it is that David Wilcock does, the real truth about what it is David Wilcock does. Tonight, I'm advocating for the family of that poor pilot. They don't even know that this happened. I doubt they know that this happened yet. But somebody needs to stand up for that pilot and that pilot's poor family that are still in mourning. They haven't even buried their loved one yet. And this millionaire in $1 million house is using that tragic death to collect super chat donations and make YouTube money, ad revenue, so that he can continue living a millionaire's lifestyle. If that's what you got to do to live in $1 million house, I never want to live in $1 million house. And if you couldn't verify it, why are you running with the story? You couldn't verify any of this, but you're still going to run with the story? Well, we looked. We couldn't find any verification of this. We looked everywhere we could. Then you don't run the story and make money off the tragic death of a pilot that died horrifically in a plane crash, Daniel Brinkley. There's no intel. There's a fake story from a white supremacist, Holocaust-denying, convicted felon, conspiracy theorist. There's no intel. It's a fake story from a white supremacist, Holocaust-denying, convicted felon. I'm going to try to stop saying that so much. I'm just going to say from this less than credible source, Hal Turner, going forward. I'm just going to stop it there. I'm just going to stop it there because listen, it was captured by China. I'm sorry, friends. Just bear with me. I'm looking something up. Yeah, so David Wilcock is here on his live stream collecting money from people. Friends, he's collecting money from people in super chat donations, telling these fake stories. Let's back it up. I got to hear that again. He was captured. That pilot was captured by China. You failed. You didn't try. You didn't try hard enough because you failed miserably. The pilot was not captured by China. He died, and his body was found. You tried. Try harder, Daniel. One second, friends. Let me monitor the live chat, see what's going on. Audio again. Audio. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. I'm getting that second monitor set up tomorrow, I promise. All right. And thank you for whoever just called in to let me know. Yeah, I am fired up tonight. I'm just fired up. Let me stop this. Listen, and this is going to be an appeal. Gage from StreamYard, you're the CEO. I think that you have something to say about this. I know 5 or 10 people that use StreamYard, and all of us want the same thing. When you share screen, you have to hit share audio, or it won't share the audio. Can we make it mute audio? because everybody I know does the same thing I do. They share the screen, forget to click share audio, and then the live chat has to tell them, and it's a nightmare. Just reverse it. That would be the more logical thing to do. If you're sharing a video, you probably want to share the audio. But hey, Gage, I know you're very overworked and underpaid, and you're doing the best that you can. Please, Gage, can you please do something about this? Because I make this mistake constantly, and maybe it's just me being a flawed human being, but please. And thank you to the live chat. All right, let's go back. I have share audio, and now we're going to have to go back again. I don't want to go back too far. Let's see here.
Everything that everybody's seeing, everything that you're seeing, everybody, we tried very, very hard to make sure we had good information from everywhere that we could look.
Yeah, didn't try hard enough.
Now,
because you were totally wrong. They were totally wrong in this live stream, just like these two clowns were totally wrong in a previous live stream when they were both sitting there talking about how Trump was going to win the election in a landslide.
This is where the story gets even crazier, folks. And again, we only have 50 slides, but the intel itself is drastic. Okay.
And again, he doesn't have intel. He has a fake story from Hal Turner, a less than credible source, who we have said previously is a known white supremacist, Holocaust-denying, convicted felon, conspiracy theorist.
Okay. The pilot apparently was captured in this intel. What we're hearing, he was captured by China. So they have a...
It's not intel. It's a fake story from Hal Turner. That's the only source you have. And look at the quality of that man's reputation. And you're running with this story so you can take super chat donations, David Wilcock.
Hostage. And that's very, very bad. That's very, very bad for the soldier. It's very bad for our country. It's very bad for the prospect of where this could go.
And it's arrogance.
It's being reported as a routine crash, but look at the location, look at the context, look at the deployments.
His body was found shortly, I believe, after this clown did his broadcast. But he's going to say, what's his defense to them finding the body of the man? Oh no, that was a fake body. China really did capture him and take him hostage. And we're going to get into the most ridiculous nonsense I've ever heard this clown peddle.
Massive, massive fleets of ships on both coasts, an unbelievable amount of positioning going on inside the U.S. that we know nothing about. And I don't want to know the information. I don't want that intel. I don't want to know where they are, how many there are, what they're going to do, where they're going to do. I don't want to know. It's better that I don't know.
And make sure no pickup trucks are parked. But no, look both ways when you get in your car for a brown Chevrolet pickup truck.
So
yeah, and this is David Wilcock also once said that there were explosive devices all across the United States planted in bridges that they could destroy. You know, they could detonate so that they could cut major cities off. And yeah, okay.
So what was the response? What was the response? The response apparently was a massive strike. And this came in from later briefings from the same source. And here
the same source, a known white supremacist. I'm sorry to keep saying this, but this is so important. This is his source, a white supremacist, Holocaust-denying, convicted felon, conspiracy theorist. That's his only source of this information. He has no confirmation from any other source.
Is a link of somebody writing about that. It was on his show. Hal himself hasn't written about it yet, but he did do a broadcast on it. And again, right now, this is only intel.
No, it's only horse shit. It's only horse shit, David. It's not intel. It's horse shit.
But if you go and dig into this story, which again, I didn't have time to put it all in the slides and read it all out for you, but I'll give you the gist of what's happening, okay? There was a very unusual, strange earthquake in Maine, and it was below the surface of the ground, but it has one of these type of spikes where it's all the energy happens, boom, all at once, and then it decays. Normal earthquakes start rumbling like this, and then they just get crazy. And then they kind of rumble back down, right? It's this kind of like, it goes up and down. But when you get an underground NU explosion, boom, you get this all, boom, it all happens at once. The graph just goes straight up, and then
And here we go again. He's an expert now. He's a seismologist, and he's going to explain this to us. He doesn't have a grade school level of knowledge about seismology or geology, but he's going to somehow explain to us why this couldn't have been a regular earthquake. And by the way, you can go to the U.S. Geological Society and get the charts and look at the seismographs. You can get them, David. Well, did you get them? Can we see them? You're going to tell us that you know better than every person working at the U.S. Geological Society. All those professionals that have spent their lifetime studying earthquakes, you know better than them. Sure, David Wilcock.
then it decays. So we have a suspicious earthquake in Maine. Now,
And by the way, it's not suspicious to anyone but David Wilcock, because he thinks he can weave this into his bullshit narrative about the tragedy of that pilot that lost his life, who he claims was kidnapped and captured and held hostage by China. He thinks he can use these things to collect super chat donations.
what is the intel there? The intel, and
It's not, again, there's no intel. This is horseshit or bullshit. Pick your shit. This is shit. It's not intel, David Wilcock. It's shit. It's shit. It has no value to anyone but you, because somehow, and I got to admire and respect him for this guy can take shit like this and turn it into super chat donations and live in $1 million house. Everybody that's sending him money should know he's taking shit like this and begging for super chat, collecting super chat donations and ad revenue, and somehow he's turning shit into a millionaire's lifestyle. I gotta admire and respect that part of it, I guess. But the deplorable way in which he goes about it, like using a poor, tragic dead man in order to sell his fairy tales and hurting that man's family, that I can't respect. That I think is disgusting. And somebody should do something about this.
this is what Hal was saying, and I haven't had time to do this, but this is where you guys can come in, do some more work for us.
Get involved.
We're all part of
Yeah, let's get involved. David Wilcock, I'm doing the work for you now, okay? And we're going to break some of this down tonight. I'm doing the work that you're not doing. You're living in a millionaire's lifestyle, and then I got to do the work for you and prove to people that what you're selling is shit, that the value of your information is shit, literally shit. Shit's worth more than the value of what you have here. Shit can be used for fertilizer. I don't know. Shit can be used to make methane. Shit has value. This has no value. Your information is worth less than shit, David Wilcock.
a team here. I want you guys involved. So if you go back to Hal's show, what is he?
Yeah, where did he get that? I say that all the time. It's not Truth Seeker. It's not me. It's Truth Seekers. We're the Truth Seekers, David Wilcock. You should be looking for dildos somewhere in the world and get that $15,000 prize, right? Use your psychic powers. Use your government insiders. Find the box of dildos that we buried to prove that you don't have psychic powers.
He say? He says if you go type in the coordinates of where this earthquake occurred, that you will see it is in the middle of no F-where in Maine, because Maine is huge and there's hardly anybody there. So there's lots and lots and lots of land.
Hardly anybody lives in Maine. There's hardly anybody there. My God, David Wilcock, you do no work whatsoever, and you say ridiculous things. It's just ridiculous. Yeah, maybe some towns don't have a high population, but I just looked it up, and Maine has a population of 1.344 million people. So you can't even, there's nothing even like factual about anything he says. Oh, there's nobody there. Do you mean in the town that the earthquake happened in? Maybe there's a low population, but I'm sure there's some people there. There's people everywhere in the United States, even the most rural, areas. I've learned that from my cabin in the mountains of Pennsylvania. You'd be surprised how many people are living up on a mountain somewhere in the middle of nowhere.
And suspiciously, the area above the ground, right where the earthquake occurred, is a 4-acre area that has all been clear cut by somebody that has these dirt roads in it. And there are these circular areas that suggest sewage treatment plants. Well, apparently, the above ground area is not really the focus. This is an underground base.
A dumb.
D-U-M-B, deep underground military base.
Sure.
Yes, and David Wilcock loves to talk about deep underground military bases. And who was the original source of this whole story about deep underground military bases? You can see a video from Joe from the Carolinas about that guy who turned out to be a complete and total mental case nut job. No proof. Again, no evidence. But he's going to talk about this as if it's reality. He's going to connect the dots between circles on a satellite map and just claim that's a deep underground military base. Where's the proof? Can we get pictures of the construction of that? Can we get records of the construction material brought in to build that deep underground military base? Can we get witnesses that helped construct it? Can we get any evidentiary support that that's a deep underground military base? Of course not, because this is David Wilcock, and he doesn't need proof. He just says shit. It's great.
Sure. And that one strike, what you just described, when you are listening to an explosion, you're talking about a Moab.
That's right.
The mother of all bombs.
Well, that's what they said, is that they actually shot a bunker buster in there.
Okay.
So but we're jumping ahead a little bit.
Well,
so
that's just me listening to you.
Yeah. So if you actually follow this storyline, you follow the intel, here's what they say.
You mean you follow the horse shit? It's not intel. It's a fake story from a white supremacist, Jesus Christ, a white supremacist, Holocaust-denying, convicted felon conspiracy theorist. That's where this story came from, David Wilcock.
Is happened, okay? That it was China, that they had cleared out the area above the ground. And again, we don't have any confirmation on this. This is purely speculative. We're only reporting on possible things. We're not saying this is true. This is just what one source is giving us for intel.
Okay, so you have one source, and we're not saying this is true. There's his get out of bullshit free card. He thinks that he'll be able, when this story is proven to be the horse shit that it is, and by the way, it's only been a couple of days since this broadcast, and it's already been proven that this story is complete and total horse shit. He's got the disclaimer. We're just reporting this. It doesn't matter that we don't have any sources other than a very flawed source that no one else would ever trust or believe when he told a fantastical story like this, but David Wilcock believes him and he's running with the story. But hey, it might not be true. We're just reporting it. Tell that to that pilot's family, right? Explain to that pilot's family why you're repeating this garbage and collecting money while you're repeating this garbage from a white supremacist, Holocaust-denying, convicted felon conspiracy theory lunatic. Tell that to the pilot's family. This might not be true.
It's very important, worth discussing. Apparently, there was a base of 50,000 personnel, 50,000 soldiers underground in Maine, ready to swoop down from the top. And obviously, one of the things that everybody's been speculating on is, do they have some method to knock out the grid? And if we didn't have a power grid, and if we didn't have everything with lights on, how much easier would it be if you have 50,000 troops?
Again, more speculation, more nonsense, no proof, no evidence. Christ.
Start doing that, it would be much, much, much easier.
And you have us fighting over a presidential election and fraud, and our identity as Americans is at stake. Who we are as the nation of the city on the light city on the hill is at stake. And you know what, David, when you look at it, we have building those dumbs forever.
Oh, it's so easy.
So it could be a combination of the DS.
And Danny Brinkley knows all about those dumbs, because when he died, maybe he got to visit those deep underground military bases in spirit form before he talked to angels and came back from the dead 4 times. Why would we listen to this guy? Why would anybody listen to this guy? Nothing that he says means anything or has any value.
And not just the Chinese, but a combination thereof.
Right. The DS has given all of their technology to China, and that includes these deep underground tunnel boring machines, which, this is not even a speculation. You can go look it up. The TBMs are tunnel boring machines. I mean,
yeah. There's a such thing as a tunnel boring machine. Yeah, it's used in mining and underground construction and a lot of things. Yeah. It doesn't mean there's a deep underground military base that somebody dropped a fucking bunker buster bomb on just the other day. How does he connect these dots? There really is boring machines, so this must be true.
Some of them are like 100 feet wide, and they'll just melt through the ground.
That's what Tesla's doing.
Yeah.
Oh, you got to mention Nikola Tesla. You got to. If you're a conspiracy theorist nut job, throw some Tesla in there. It makes it more believable, right?
Tesla's doing it in Vegas now. He's drilling.
Oh, I'm sorry. He's talking about the company Tesla. He's talking about Elon Musk.
A tunnel all the way down the strip.
Wow.
For a ferry or a subway or something but that's exactly what he's doing. So it isn't. You don't have to go very far to know that this is really true. It's happening in Las Vegas. It's like Nellis.
So I'm not trying to claim.
Yeah, there's a big jump between an underground subway system being built in Las Vegas to there was 50,000 troops in a deep military underground base, and somebody dropped a bunker buster bomb on them, and then the Chinese captured that soldier they shot his plane down, and then they captured him and they took him hostage, even though they found his body shortly after the plane crash.
I told you so points very much, but I've been talking about mass arrests. I've been getting briefings on this from high-level military insiders since 2009.
No, you've been talking about mass arrests since 1998. I found a source, this is a verifiable source, where he was talking about mass arrests going to happen in the next few months in 1998, I believe. I could be mistaken. Have to check my notes, but even if it's only been since 2009, and he's admitting that here, David Wilcock has been promising that mass arrests are going to happen any day now since at least 2009, but I believe way, way longer than that. It's a common riff. He goes back to it time and time again, and it never happens. And even some of his followers are like, yeah, when are those mass arrests going to happen, David Wilcock? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And the fact that he doesn't even know that every time he mentions mass arrests, hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands of people hear him say that and laugh at him. The fact that he doesn't even realize or know this is funny to me. Keep mentioning the mass arrests. Keep losing people who have been listening to you for some reason for 10 plus years and know that you've been talking about mass arrests for 10 years and it's never happened and it never will.
Now, the stuff that happened at the beginning of the year and the results of that, you would have never believed me if I told you something like that might happen. Just like you might never believe me that somebody could invade America. Oh, it's impossible. It's impossible. It's impossible. Do you think anything is impossible at this point? Do you think anything?
Oh, yeah, this is funny. Let's laugh while we're using the tragedy of a dead pilot to collect super chat donations. Let's laugh about that. Let's laugh about that. Daniel, let's laugh about it some more.
This is not even a speculation. You can go look it up. The TV.
Oh, wait. I went too far, friends. Went too far.
Soldiers was a defensive maneuver in response to the downing of the F-16. This was the counter move because they knew where they were and they dropped this on them in the middle of nowhere. And again, this is still to be confirmed. And I'm sure that whatever.
It's not to be confirmed. It's been proven false already. It's already been proven false. David Wilcock gambled running with this story. Boy, did he gamble, and boy, that gamble failed. Just like all of his gambles. He really would make a great poker opponent. I'd love to play poker with David Wilcock because he loses every hand he plays. He's never right. He's never correct. his gambles of running with fantastical, ridiculous stories that may be true never work out in his favor.
Entry wounds of this attack have already probably been, covered over.
Yeah, and now here comes the explanation for why you won't find any proof. They've already covered over the area and covered this event up. No, they haven't. It never happened, David Wilcock, except in your fantasy land while you're living in your $1 million mansion, collecting super chats on the back of the tragedy of a pilot who died in a fiery fucking plane crash. How do you think his family feels that you're collecting donations, telling this story? Repeating the story from this lunatic fringe conspiracy theorist that's a white supremacist and a Holocaust denier. How do you think his family feels about you collecting money on that, David Wilcock?
So it's not like this is going to be obvious, at least not right now. And we don't even know if this is true.
What's 50,000 guys?
How many times has he said, we don't even know this is true? Then why are you talking about it and collecting super chat donations off of it?
To a daisy cutter.
Nothing.
When you look at a Moab and a daisy cutter, I can understand you having a little earthquake.
Absolutely. So in the midst of all this, something really remarkable has happened. We're an hour and a half in. I want to get to this before too much more time goes by. And that is the prophecies that I began receiving in 1996 that are the subject of my new book, which I don't think it's around me anymore. There's been so much stuff going on. I got moved.
Oh, yeah. Buy my book, too, so I can keep living a millionaire's lifestyle. My books are full of lies, just like my live streams are full of lies and fake stories. His books, by the way, I have several of them. He owes me the money back because he presents these things as factual, and an eighth grader could go and fact check the things in his book and find out that it's all fake. So I want my 1995 back or whatever. I have two of his books. So actually, I think he owes me about $30 back.
But that's okay. So my book, Awakening in the Dream, does talk about everything that's going on right now. All of the prophecies, all the things that are going on.
So his book talks about this fake story that's going on right now, this fake Chinese invasion, this poor pilot that crashed. Does his book mention that? Is that all in your book? Did you dream all this before it happened?
Going on right now. More or less, we're in there. Let's not worry about it. It's not a big deal. You guys know what the book looks like. And
it's on Amazon. It's number 39,000.
I don't make any money if you buy it anyway, so I'm not really that worried about it. I just want you to read it.
Why would he not make any money if he sells his book? Is he saying that his book is not for profit? Because I believe it's for profit.
Anyway.
Well, on Amazon, David, it's pretty high up.
Oh, yeah.
People are buying this book and reading this book, and I see some of the things that people are writing back and saying.
I've never had such a 5-star rated book before, where it's actually almost exactly 5 stars across the board.
Oh boy, let's take an ego trip now. Maybe we'll review the book and we'll review the reviews on the book. Like we'll go through Amazon and read the reviews on the book. That would be fun, right?
The percentage is so high that it doesn't even go below 5. I don't think. Maybe it's almost at 4.5
he is
now.
Such a narcissist.
4.5, and
he's
it's number
so concerned with his Amazon rating for his book. And meanwhile, those that don't know, I think my book has got not a very good Amazon because Michael Horn and the Billy Meyer UFO cult started reviewing the book negatively. But I'm okay with that because my book is full of truth, and his book is full of horseshit, bullshit, and lies. So I'm not concerned with my Amazon, review ratings or any of that kind of stuff. Because like I said, my book is filled with lies. Oh yeah. I've only got 2.5 stars on my book. That's unfortunate, right? Yeah. So David Wilcock, you've got 5 stars. Good for you. Good for you. You got 5 stars selling a book full of lies. I'll take my 2.5 stars selling a book full of truth. Right? Yeah. Yeah, so we've got 2 of the Billy Meyer cult. We've got 2 of the Billy Meyer cult gave us bad reviews. And by the way, for those that don't know, my book is about the Billy Meyer cult and Wendell Stevens. And you know what? If David Wilcock If David Wilcock can make money selling lies, I think I should be allowed to make money selling truth. So I'm going to plug my book real quick. It's called The CIA's Conspiracy Against Wendell Stevens, Ufology or Ufology. It's co-authored with my co-author, who's really mostly responsible for this book, Cal Korff. And you can get it on Amazon for a whole $8.99. And we could get into the ratings, but I'll do that on another show. Let's wait for I'm going to wait for the Billy Meyer cult to write more bad reviews. The good news is that they have to buy the book in order to review it. So I say to the Billy Meyer cult, buy all the books of mine you want, and you can give me a bad review all you want, but you got to buy it to review it. So, and I'm looking very quickly. Oh, you don't have 5 stars. You have 4.7. And let's see. 2% of people gave you a 1 star, 1% of people gave you a 2 star, 4% of people gave you a 3 star, 6% of people gave you a 4 star, and 86% gave you 5-star rating. Wow. And he did get 810. And someday we'll go through and we'll read all of these reviews because they're funny. I didn't know that there was that many stupid people buying David Wilcock's book full of nonsense, but apparently there are. So let's, friends, get back to the video. I'm not sure how much longer we're going to go. I think we're wrapping things up with this video. Maybe we could cover more of it at another time. Oh, I did it again. Almost did it again. Share audio. Come on, Gage from Streamlab. You got to, StreamYard, you got to fix that. Please. Please. All right. One more time. Sorry, I zigged when I should have zagged. Let's get back to the video, friends.
And the number of reviews alone are absolutely
He's still
incredible.
talking about the
positive
reviews
and what people say about it. And pretty much everybody's saying this is David's best book. That's the predominant.
Good for you and your ego. Everybody's saying this is your best book full of fairy tales, your best book full of lies, speculation, and nonsense with zero evidence, zero proof. Good for you. Good for you, David Wilcock.
Sentiment that's out there. So I want to be very clear that the book was finished in the beginning of January before all this stuff happened. And if you go back on this channel and you watch previous videos, all of those readings I was receiving, this is a telepathic thing where I'm in deep meditation and I begin speaking and the words are coming through with as little conscious mind interference as possible. In other words, it is a sacred technique.
Or it's just you spouting nonsense in a semi-meditative or hypnotic state. I don't know.
Of invoking the highest positive light and love possible. Invoking the creator, invoking positivity, invoking the benevolent forces of the universe, however you choose to define them.
David Wilcock, I have a question. Are you invoking the benevolent forces of the universe? Are you invoking light and love when you use the tragic death of a man who died in a horrific fiery plane crash to sell people fake stories from I gotta say this again, a story that came from a white supremacist, Holocaust denying, convicted felon, fringe conspiracy theorist? Are you invoking God when you're hurting that pilot's family, collecting super chat donations? Are you invoking source and spirit and light and love when you're using that man's tragic death to collect ad revenue for repeating ridiculous fringe nonsense conspiracy theories about a dead man who tragically just died? How do you think his family feels about that? Do you think his family thinks you're invoking light and love when you do that? This is the hypocrisy of this man.
And leveling yourself up to this very high state of consciousness while also in a very deep state of meditation, light as a feather, stiff as a board. You are very conscious, but you couldn't.
Did he just quote the Charmed movie? Light as a feather, stiff as a board. Light as a feather, stiff as a board. He just quoted a teeny bopper movie about witches.
really open your eyes or move your body if you wanted to. That's the state you have to get into. And then in that state, if you can get your body to talk and you say the things that are coming through in your mind without analyzing it, this is what the remote viewing protocols from the 1990s and earlier taught us. I learned about them in the 1990s. No analysis.
So now he's not only a psychic, he's not only Edgar Casey reincarnated, he's also a remote viewer now. That's new.
No emotional impressions. You shouldn't even be trying to understand it. In fact, if you...
Nobody understands what you write about because it's horseshit. It's horseshit, David Wilcock. It's word salad nonsense horseshit. We're going to review the book. God damn it. Now I got to review the book and prove that his book is full of word salad nonsense horseshit.
You have no idea whether what you said is garbage or real information. That's the best it can be. You don't.
He just said it himself. He has no idea. Under ideal conditions here, you're going to have no idea over if what you just said is garbage or real information. Then what value does it have if you don't even know if it's garbage or not? By the way, David Wilcock, I'm pretty sure it's garbage.
Don't want to track the words. You don't want to follow the information. So you actually want to get somewhat bored. You stay in this very high state of consciousness. You're very uplifted.
It'd be very easy for me to get bored around you talking this nonsense. I get bored so quick, I can't stand 10 minutes of you talking sometimes.
You're very deep in meditation. Your body can't move, but you're just speaking the words as they come through. And again, this takes a lot of training. Unfortunately, many people just start doing this and then they say, oh, I'm in touch with the Ashtar Command. I'm in touch with the Galactic Council. I got Jesus on this side. I got Buddha on this side. I'm getting conference called in. Pagers are ringing. Moses is calling me. Viracocha is calling me. I got everybody on my phone.
Yeah, so everybody else that does this technique is doing it wrong and they're, fake. But he's real when he does it.
Okay, look.
Just buy the book, everybody.
You and I.
So I guess he just admitted that his book is channeled garbage, that he doesn't even know if it's real information or channeled garbage. What value then does this book have? I don't think it has any value. If the author doesn't even know if it's real information or garbage, what value could it have? Time will tell, David Wilcock. Time will tell if it's garbage. And given your track record, let's see, you predicted that Donald Trump was going to win the presidential election in a landslide a few weeks ago. That was fake. You predicted we were all going to get light bodies in 2012 and superpowers. That was fake, right? Here, you're spouting this nonsense story that's already been proven fake like a day after you broadcasted it and repeated it. That was fake. You being Edgar Casey reincarnated, turns out that was fake. You wouldn't take the test that the Edgar Casey Foundation offered you to prove it. You chickened out. So that was fake. Let's see. Pete Peterson, your source, was fake, right? You had a court-martialed child molester as a source. He was fake. I'm pretty sure that I can go out on a limb here and say Corey Good, your source, was fake, right? Pete Peterson working for Ronald Reagan. That's what you said. He was a science and technology advisor for Ronald Reagan. We proved that was fake. Everything you talk about is fake. And you just now said you don't know if this channeled information you put in this book is fake garbage or real information. Given your track record, Mr. Wilcock, I'm not a betting man, but if I was, I'd bet on the fake garbage. Given your horrible track record of providing any useful information, any information of value to anyone. The only value David Wilcock's information has is to him, so that he can collect money from stupid people and continue living a millionaire's lifestyle. Selling what he just described as what may possibly be fake garbage.
I both know, and we've been on way too many panels together over the years, the circus show that is channeling, the absolute circus show of it, okay? However, it is an indisputable fact.
Yeah, so again, channeling is a circus sideshow, but not when I do it.
That I had multiple dreams that were talking about 9/11 before it happened. There's no question. On the day of 9/11, before the day even ended, I'd already published my first article on my website showing you all these different dreams about planes hitting buildings, about all these very, very specific things. And then I went back later and found that I had readings where the words themselves had predicted the fall of the buildings. And this is in two different.
No, he connected the dots after channeling or spewing out a whole bunch of bullshit about prophetic dreams that he thought he was having. He's got no proof of anything he's saying here, and I challenge him to show me those readings, and we'll pick them apart, and we'll prove that he's batting zero. Why, if your prophetic dreams are so accurate, your prophetic dreams are this accurate, why did you scrub your original website, ascension2000.com? Could it possibly be because that website was filled with thousands of predictions, none of which, to the best of my research, ever came true? And I've been through them, David Wilcock. I've been through them. Hundreds of them, thousands of them. Trying to find out if your prophetic dreams were real or not. And to the best of my research, none of them. None of your prophetic dreams, none of your prophecies, none of your predictions ever come true. And we see this in the most recent example. You just predicted that Donald Trump would win the election in a landslide. That was false. But we're supposed to believe you. We're supposed to buy your book because you expect everyone to be stupid, just like every other stupid person that you've been victimizing selling this fake stuff for years.
Different books that I wrote. It's in Synchronicity Key, and now it's also in Awakening in the Dream.
Yeah, and Synchronicity Key is filled with stories of his fake government insider that never was a government employee except for some military service. He never was Pete Peterson is the source in the Synchronicity Key. And he tells tons of Pete Peterson fake stories all throughout that book. And we can prove factually and accurately that everything in Pete Peterson's biography that he claimed, like winning the Order of Lenin Award, the Russian equivalent to, our highest civilian honor, that didn't happen. Pete Peterson claimed to be the Ronald Reagan Science and Technology Advisor. We checked with the Ronald Reagan Library. That wasn't an accurate thing. He never worked for Ronald Reagan. Pete Peterson claimed to be an early computer pioneer and beat Apple and Commodore and Atari and all these other companies, Tandy, to market with the first alphanumeric personal computer. But we contacted personal computer museums all over the globe, and nobody ever heard of Pete Peterson or his magic computer that beat Apple to market that every university bought. Pete Peterson was a complete and total fraud. Why is it then that David Wilcock ran with his stories, didn't even vet him, and sold a book and continues to sell a book for years full of that man's fake stories?
And in 1999, on my website, you can go to Awakening in the Dream, look it up in the book. There's a link there. So if you get the ebook, this is one of the really cool things I didn't know, is that now you can get the ebook and the audio will read with the ebook. So you can get the voiceover, which is me talking. I read my own books. Everybody loves that. While you're reading.
Again, Mr. Ego, who cares who reads a book full of fake shit and nonsense? Nobody cares. Mr. Ego, everybody loves that it's my voice.
It in the ebook.
Hey, wait, I got to read my book. Maybe everybody will love that. My book's full of truth and facts and evidence, right? We've got court documents. We've got real proof in my book.
So you can actually have it going both ways at the same time. You can click on the links in the ebook. They're all clickable, and it will take you to archive.org. Where
this is like a 20-minute commercial for his book. I'm just trying to, you know what? I think, friends, let me look at what. Yeah, we're already an hour and 45 minutes into the show. I'm going to timestamp where we stopped at, and we may come back to this clown. But I gotta check out. I can't do any more of this bullshit today. I'm trying to, it's kind of like working out, right? I'm trying to like build up my bullshit muscles, my bullshit tolerance muscles in my brain to be able to withstand more of David Wilcock's bullshit. But I got to tell you, friends, right now, I'm just not at my best as far as my ability to withstand more than a certain time of his bullshit. Yes, William Pixley, you're right, but we've got to come back to it. Wait, Charles, it gets even worse, crazier. Yes, it does. It does. I've previewed it, and William Pixley is exactly right. Audio. I'm not going back to it. Let's see. The last few minutes there that I played. Wait, let me check something. Check one. Okay, so my mic's okay. It was the audio on the video. The end there was a 10-minute commercial about his book. We didn't miss much with the audio. Stephen is fired up about the dildo seeker. Here's what set me off. What really is setting me off is the fact that he is using the tragedy of a recently dead pilot to collect super chat donations, sell his books, and collect YouTube ad revenue. That's what fired me up. Because I thought about, what if that was my dad, right? That was flying that plane, that just died in a fiery, horrific plane crash. What if that was my dad? And this fringe conspiracy theory Mr. Millionaire was sitting in his $1 million house telling lies about my father who just died in a fiery plane crash. How would I feel? And I went to that place. And like I said, that the family of that poor man deserve somebody to stand up for them. Somebody to stand up to David Wilcock and say, you can't do that. That's not right. That's not a love and light thing to do, Mr. Love and Light. You're real love and light, using a dead man's tragedy to sell shit so that you can live in $1 million house. Good for you, David Wilcock. What value are you offering the world? People should know that you're using the tragedy of a recently deceased man to collect super chat donations. They should know that. Well, we are going to go to the live chat and take comments, questions, and then we're going to wrap things up here. Lee Veltman, props, Stephen, keep it real. That's what we do here. And if I ever get woo nuts, somebody ought to grab me and shake me and bring me back to reality. And thankfully, people have done that, because there have been a few times when I went a little too far afield wanting to believe something. Jeanette F. is here. I know a lot about him. He brought Kent Dunn on the scene. William Pixley says Shilcock needs to be exposed. Yeah, exactly. He does need to be exposed. And here's the way that you can help to do that. Unfortunately, Mr. Wilcock has either paid for a Chinese bot farm to get all those views, or organically, even probably organically, he has a bigger bullhorn than me. It's not as big as 240,000 views in 3 days. That's horseshit. But he's got a bigger bullhorn than me. So help me amplify my bullhorn. Like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. Do you want the second red pill? Do you want to know the truth behind these clowns? Because they're not going to give it to you, and I will. Like it. Like this video. Comment on this video. Subscribe to this channel. Send this channel address to some friends. Get them their second red pill. Bring them here to our Truth Seekers community, where we actually care about the reality of these things. We actually care about evidence, right? Do you want to know the truth about these things, or do you want to live in a delusional fantasy land where ridiculous nonsense like David Wilcock talks about is real? Because none of his stuff is real. And by the way, he didn't unpack that whole story entirely. The story, right, from Hal Turner was, and I have to share my screen to, there's one more part in this presentation. We'll try to get through it real quick. Okay. Let's take a look. We're just going to be sharing Google Maps here. All right. So the story from Hal Turner was that 50,000 Chinese troops were somehow crossed the border into Maine, right? From Canada, 50,000 Chinese troops crossed over the United States border. 50,000 Chinese troops did that. And somehow those Chinese troops managed to shoot down this F-16, right? And then the United States, in retaliation, dropped a bunker-busting bomb on those 50,000 Chinese troops. That's the part of the story he didn't get into. And I just want to say, how plausible is it that 50,000 troops from one of the United States, perhaps the United States' greatest foreign adversary, 50,000 of their troops somehow managed to cross the Canadian border into Maine in the United States, and nobody saw them except for Hal Turner, a known white supremacist, Holocaust-denying, convicted felon, conspiracy theorist. Hal Turner is the only one that saw this happen or knows that this happened. Nobody on the Maine border knew that it happened. Nobody on the Canadian border knew that it happened. Friends, this is the most ridiculous story that David Wilcock has ever run with. If for no other reason than how implausible, how completely and totally fucking ridiculous it is that he's expecting people to believe this story from Hal Turner that 50,000 China. Do you know how much? Do you have any idea what it would take to support 15,000 troops? You'd need hundreds of trucks full of rations and food and ammunition. Maybe 1,000 trucks. I don't know. One truck per 1,000 people, right? Maybe 2,000 trucks. I'm not a military strategist, but we can talk to one. And I happened to reach out to one and said, what kind of support would you need to have 50,000 troops? And the answer is thousands. You'd need thousands of vehicles to support those 50,000 troops, at least. Add to that the complications of 50,000 troops defending themselves in the middle of a country that they didn't belong in, right? Do you think that Canada would just see 50,000 Chinese troops marching through Canada into Maine and they wouldn't do anything? They wouldn't call up the United States and say, do you guys know there's 50,000 Chinese troops marching into Maine? And by the way, the length or train, imagine 50,000 imagine 50,000 troops, right? 50,000 Chinese troops and thousands of military vehicles. That would be a parade that would be miles and miles and miles long of people marching, right? Or if the 50,000 troops were in troop carriers, they would need, I don't know, 10,000 troop carriers. Is David Wilcocks so dumb he expects everybody to believe that 10,000 Chinese troop carriers are just going to run through Canada and get into Maine and nobody's going to notice? Everybody's got cell phones. Not one person took a picture of that 5-mile long train of troop carriers or miles and miles and miles long train of just people marching, Chinese troops that they just marched on their feet. Nobody would take a fucking cell phone picture of this. Nobody would, call the media. And what? What about the media? If we're going to believe David Wilcock and this idiot Hal Turner, then we're going to have to believe that, let's see, the Canadian military covered this up. The United States military covered it up. The media covered it up. Got to everybody that took a cell phone picture of those 50,000 Chinese dudes marching into Maine and took those cell phones and deleted their SIM cards and their picture files. Nobody took a video of this? A miles-long train of 50,000 troops or thousands and thousands of troop carriers carrying 50,000 troops? Nobody saw this. Nobody took a picture. And the Canadian government, the Canadian media, the local media, all the newspapers, all the government of both the United States and Canada, everybody just covered this up. Really? Really? How stupid. This is how stupid David Wilcock thinks you are. He thinks he could tell you a story this ridiculous, presented as factual and real, even though the whole time he's telling the story, he goes, well, this might not be true, but this is our intel. He thinks you're so stupid that you're going to believe that nobody saw a miles-long caravan of 50,000 Chinese troops marching into the United States unopposed. He thinks you're so stupid that you're just going to believe him. You don't need to see pictures that people took of those 50,000 troops or those 10,000 troop carriers carrying 50,000 troops, just making their way into the United States unopposed. What do you think would happen if 50,000 troops were amassed on our borders that were Chinese? Do you really have that little faith in our defense systems? Do you really have that little faith in the United States and the Canadian military? Do you think they just let them waltz in across our borders, 50,000 troops? This is how stupid David Wilcock thinks you are. He thinks he's going to tell a story this implausible, this unbelievable, this ridiculous, and say this is real. Well, it may be fake. We don't know, but it's real, friends. You know, he gave himself the disclaimer, but he thinks you're so stupid that you're going to send him a super chat donation while he's telling this story that's so completely and totally unbelievable, implausible, and ridiculous. It could never be real, while he's also hurting the family of a pilot that just tragically died by connecting him to this ridiculous conspiracy. He thinks you're that dumb. Send him a super chat donation. Send him a PayPal donation right now for his charity. Is that what your charity does? He has a spiritual foundation, and your charity hurts people, hurts the family of a man that just died tragically in a fiery plane crash, right? And you think people are going to donate money to you while you're doing that? The arrogance of this rich man sitting around in his $1 million house hurting the family of a pilot that just died tragically by connecting him to this nonsense so he can collect money from people is ridiculous. Somebody's got to do something. And you know what? Lately, I think that I have to do more. I have to do more about this. Is he just allowed to do this? And by the way, not even pay taxes on the donations he's collecting? Because he's a charity. Yeah, he's a charity. And what does his charity do? Apparently, his charity sponsors live streams on YouTube where he lies to people and connects tragic deaths of people to ridiculous conspiracy theories, with the sole source being, I'm going to say it one last time here, a white supremacist, Holocaust-denying, convicted felon, fringe conspiracy theorist in the form of Hal Turner. That's what his charity does, apparently. And that's what he wants you to donate to his charity so he can continue doing stuff like this. No, I don't think so. And that, my friends, will conclude our presentation. I'm sorry, but I thought it was important to include these parts of this Hal Turner story about 50,000 Chinese troops invading America and nobody saw it. I couldn't believe that he was running with this. I still can't believe that he's running with this. He must be desperate. He must be desperate, and he is gambling and gambling big lately. Look at him. He just recently predicted that Donald Trump, he had to know, he had a 50-50 shot, maybe less, because he predicted that Donald Trump would win the presidential election in a landslide. So I don't think that was a 50-50, because I don't think the odds are 50-50 I don't think the odds were anywhere near 50-50 that Trump would win in the landslide. So I think he gambled on that prediction and lost big. Turned out to be completely and totally wrong on that one. Yeah, so there we have it. And I think he gambled big with this story. And again, just a day or two after he does the stream, everybody finds out that everything that he talked about in his latest stream was horse shit. Only takes a few days for the horse shit to rise to the top of the deceptive illusion that he's trying to cast, that he has any insight, any intel, any briefings, any real government insiders. He's got shit. And I'll say this one last time. He doesn't even have shit, because shit has value. And the value of what David Wilcock gives the world is worth less than shit. All right. Now I'll turn my attention to the live chat. Have you gotten his charity tax reports yet? No. So far, he's refused to give them to me, which leaves me in a bad position, William Pixley, because my only recourse now is to file a complaint against him with the IRS. And, I wasn't going to do it. I just thought that's really like an aggressive action to file a complaint against him for not abiding by the law. For those that don't know, David Wilcock has a charity, and he's required by law to file something publicly called a 990 form. And it will show everyone how much money he collected in donations and what he did with the money. And the law states that if someone requests it, anyone, if you have a public charity, and I did this, requested the 990 forms, he has to give them to me. I requested the 990 forms. He never gave them to me. So my only recourse, he ignored me. He has not done it. He's required by law to give me the 990 forms. It's a violation of federal tax laws for him to refuse the request. But I have a feeling, William Pixley, that I know what he's going to say. He's just going to say, we didn't get your email, even though I emailed a bunch of different emails for him. So I'm going to make another request. And I'm going to do it by snail mail and FedEx signature required. So he's going to have to acknowledge that he received the request. And then he has 30 days to give me the 990 forms. And then if he doesn't do it, I am going to file a complaint with the IRS against him for violation of federal tax laws concerning the 990 forms. I have requested multiple times now, and others have, and he has turned everyone down. He has not given the 990 form. I believe the Points on the Curve guy, I forget his name, he requested them and even made a video of him sending the email to David Wilcock asking for them. And they sent back, ha, 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 to him. The arrogance of him. If you're going to collect tax-free donations, David Wilcock, you have to make your records public. It's the law. Okay, so comments, questions. Comments, questions from the live chat. Don't worry, one of the incoming asteroids will get him. I don't wish ill will on anyone. And again, just to be clear, the purpose of this broadcast is not to humiliate or bully anybody or anything like that. The purpose of this broadcast is to educate the public about what I believe are very, very troublesome policies that Mr. David Wilcock conducts his business under. I believe that he has already surpassed a level where a criminal investigation should be opened regarding some of his practices. We have substantial and supportive evidence that he took part in at least 2 different crowdfunding scams where the text body of what they claimed they were collecting money for can easily be proven to be completely and totally factually false. So they collected all this money, thousands of dollars, I think over $100,000, 50 something thousand, maybe it was $54,000 for Pete Peterson's GoFundMe, right? And then there was another sort of GoFundMe or PayPal donation sort of operation that was promoted by David Wilcock for Emery Smith, and that turned out to be completely and totally fraudulent. We've got his 501c3 that's collecting all this money but refuses to abide by federal law and give people who request the 990 forms the 990 forms. We've got a lot of questions, and again, I'm not a prosecutor, but I'm not sure how you can collect tax-free donations and live in $1 million house and then refuse to tell people what you're doing with the money. I'm not sure how that works. So, but it's my belief that we are quickly rising to a level where I wouldn't be surprised if there was some sort of investigation happening already, or will be shortly. And that's all I'm going to say on that. Maybe I have more information than I'm willing to divulge at the moment, but that could be rumors and speculation, right? I'll just use the get out of bullshit free card. Just like, hey, if David Wilcock can use the get out of bullshit free card, so can I. This may not be real. This may be rumors and speculation. Here we go. And here's another thing and listen, Nicholas Krupas, I'll talk to you offline, but I want you to know I just have to say this here. I have to. I've gotten some good advice. Let's just put it this way. I've gotten some good advice, and I'm not going to be bullied, threatened, intimidated, or harassed into stopping our continued coverage of Mr. Wilcock's business antics. But I do have to say this, and I should say this at the beginning of the show. I'm going to put a disclaimer up from now on. The views expressed, first of all, we support everyone's right to free speech here. But the views expressed by both our guests and those participating in the live chat may not necessarily reflect those of Spectral International, the producer of Truthseekers, the Truthseekers show, or its host, Stephen Cambion. But we support everyone's right to say whatever they wish to here. We support free speech. But I may not agree with a sentiment or statement that anyone makes. And with that, we'll go to comments and questions from the live chat. David Wilcock skims a neat profit off of human suffering and misery. He must be sued to access 990 IRS forms. No, he doesn't have to be sued. I have to file. First of all, I have to be able to prove to the IRS that he received the request. So we're looking into how I can legally cover myself and be sure that a court of law or the IRS or a government agency looking at my evidence will agree with me that he received notice that I asked for these forms. So I'm looking into that. We have to be 100% sure that we can prove he got the request, because I'm told, and it's not just Mr. Wilcock, that a lot of these people that don't give you the 990, when the IRS approaches them with complaints, they just say, well, we never got a request. We have to be able to prove that he got the request. I'm looking into how to best do that. And then if he doesn't give them to me, then I'm going to file a complaint. But I have to be able to prove to the IRS he received the request. Apparently, emailing him to 5 different email addresses or 2, I think I might have only done 2, is not proof. You know, I don't know. We're looking into it. And thank you, Six's Design. Why don't you use the 990 forms he filed after 2018 on the IRS website? Last I checked, he only had one form, which we already covered on this show. And that was for the 2017 to 2018, I believe, year. I don't believe that he has filed, but I'm going to check again tomorrow. I could be wrong. It was probably 5 or 6 weeks ago, more than that. It was probably 8 weeks ago now that I filed. I sent him a request asking him for the forms. He's required by law to give them to anybody that asks for them, requests them within 30 days. He failed to do that. I have not checked with some of the sites that you can check for 990s whether they are showing up in public databases as they should eventually. But it may take some time after he actually files them. I don't know what's going on with the 990s. I don't know if he filed them with the IRS, but he just refuses to give them to people that he feels are critics of his because he doesn't want us running with the story of how much money he took in and how much he spent on what. Or if he never filed them with the IRS, for all I know. We're left in the dark because he does not reply to the email request for the 990 forms. Haven't checked in with the IRS and some other sites. I'm going to make a point to do that tomorrow, B. Baker. Thank you. Excellent point. They may be there for all I know. If somebody does know they're there and they check for them, send them to me, and you can email me those forms. And Mr. Wilcock, he's a big fan of the show. For those that don't know, Mr. Wilcock never misses a show, especially when I'm talking about him. And I have that from several sources close to Mr. Wilcock. But, of course, I'm going to use the get out of bullshit free card. That may be rumors and speculation and may not be true. But I have heard he watches every show. He watches every one of our shows. Hi, Mr. Wilcock. Hi, Elizabeth. Hi, Danian. I hope you don't die again soon, Danian. Is it fun living in David Wilcock's $1 million mansion with them? Boy, I'd sure like to have $1 million mansion to live in. Aren't you supposed to be dead, Danian? I hope you don't, though. I really hope that he's healthy. Right? He's a human being like me. I wouldn't wish death on anyone. So I hope that Mr. Brinkley is healthy and whatever, that David Wilcock was saying that he could die any day or, die very soon. And this was the last course that you could buy that would include Daniel Brinkley's last testament, I guess. And you better hurry up and buy it. I don't know. He didn't die. And good. I'm glad you didn't die, Daniel Brinkley. But I'm told Mr. Wilcock watches the show. Again, this could be rumors and speculation. Maybe he sits around with popcorn, or throws things at his television, cursing at me the whole time. Wouldn't surprise me. But I have heard from people that he watches my show, especially when I'm talking about him. So let this be a request too. So then we can add this, what I'm about to do now, to the list of times I've requested these 990 forms from Mr. Wilcock and his Wilcock Spiritual Foundation. Mr. Wilcock, if you're watching, I would like for you to email me the last 3 years 990 forms. So that would be 2017, 2018, 2019, or let's say I've already got 2017, 2018, 2019, and 2020 990 forms. So that we can share with our audience how much money you've collected in donations and what you've done with the money. Yeah. We'd like to share that with the world. We'd like to let the world know how much money you're collecting and what you spent the money on. We'd really like to inform the public about your spiritual foundation. And also, that's my email address. Please send those 990 forms to me. And if you'd like to come on the show, because I know you're a big fan of our show, you watch every show, I'm told, especially the ones where we talk about you, you can come on my show. If you and Mr. Daniel Brinkley would come on my show, I'll have both of you. We can have up to 10 guests here. So you can have you, Elizabeth, Daniel Brinkley. Just make sure you talk to Daniel Brinkley, because if he's going to die any minute, I don't want him to die on my show. I like clicks and views, but not at the expense of a guy that might die any minute, dying live on air. I don't want to deal with that. So if he's healthy and he can do it, we'll have You, Daniel Brinkley, and your wife Elizabeth. She's part of that spiritual foundation collecting all that money, right? You guys can come on and tell everybody all the good works you do with all the money as we go through the 990 forms and show everybody how much money you collected and what you did with it all. Certainly, since you're such a fan of my show, you'd want to come on here and explain, where the money's going, right? I think that would be a good thing to do. And hey, if you're doing the right thing with all that money, that would be a good thing for your spiritual foundation, for your 501c3 charity, where you don't pay any taxes on those donations. I think that would be a good thing for you. B. Baker, Daniel Brinkley, what a BS artist. I never believed in his crap. Yeah. Brian, cannot tell. Cult leaders don't like their followers to find out. No, of course they don't. Yes, you are correct, William Pixley, and that's one of the things on my list. Like I said, we're probably going to FedEx him a printed letter, but we're gonna FedEx him with signature required, an actual physical letter that is requesting the 990 forms. May I suggest a public donation drive to fund an attorney process server in Colorado to deliver the request for the 990? If so, I am in for a donation. That's another thing. I think it's sufficient, William Pixley, to send a letter by FedEx with signature required. I think that's sufficient. I think a lawyer serving him is a little aggressive. But maybe that would be an option if he, we've got a lot of roads here that we could take. We could send a physical letter requesting the 990 forms, and then by FedEx with the signature required, to receive it. That would be verification that he got the request. And then if we waited the 30 days after that and he still didn't give us the 990s, maybe then an attorney or process server would be another good option. Because here's the thing. If I have to file a complaint with the IRS, I want to show them we've requested this 5 times and he has not given us the forms. We want to make sure that the authorities know that we did everything we could do reasonably to request these forms that he's required to give us by federal law. We want them to know that we did everything we could. So everything is on the table. I don't know what we're going to do yet. I got to figure this out in the next week. But that's my email. So again, this is another request. I'm going to clip this request for the 990 forms to Mr. David Wilcock that we're making right now and send it to all of his email addresses. So that'll be another request that we've made. What do you do with zombie Daniel Brinkley? Same thing as all the other zombies. Oh, here we go. Paranormal Hood Jiggy is here from Paranormal Hood Live Radio. And he says, I am on Super CPT. And for those that don't know, CPT is colored people time, because he is now 2 hours and 19 minutes late getting to the festivities this evening. And that, my friends, is the definition of colored people time. Well, shit, I was going to get there, Steve, but I know it's CPT, bro. And I get it. Sometimes I'm not colored. I'm not black. Jiggy, you know that. You can see that. But I am still on CPT sometimes, right? Or how about this? WT. Yeah. WTT. I coined a new term. Paranormal Hood Jiggy. Sometimes I'm on WTT, white trash time. And I just don't get somewhere, I used to have a hard time when I had clients, Jiggy, and I had to pick things up. Like I had to pick up a laptop at 1 p.m. Oh, that was a problem for me. So if anybody has any comments or questions, we're already 2 hours and 20 minutes into a show. I hoped I would be, listen, I got to stop doing this. I keep going, yeah, I could get through this in an hour. 2 hours and 20 minutes later. Yes, B. Baker. Certified letter is good. He has to receive it at his IRS address. And I have that, and I can do that. But that is a hassle. You got to go to FedEx. First, I got to write the letter, then I got to print it, sign it. I got to get an envelope, and he got the requests. He knows I requested it. We have friends in common, David Wilcock. Did you know that? We have friends in common. I don't know David Wilcock, but I know a lot of his friends, and he knows some of mine. He knows. He knows I requested those forms. That's my personal belief and speculation, by the way. But I believe that he knows that we requested those forms. William Pixley says, keep slamming, man. This is worth the effort. Yeah, we'll see. What does timeline matter? I'm not sure what you mean. Do you mean, yeah, I just mean I thought I could get through the show in an hour, and we're at 2 hours and 20 minutes. I'm terrible at estimating how long it's going to take to get through some of this stuff. Love your laugh, Steve. Makes me laugh every time. Well, good for you. And welcome here. Is it Malia Hiher? Am I saying that right? Shout out to, that's hard to say. Malia, right? Malia Hiher. I hope that I'm saying that right. Spudwife, do it, Stephen, for proof. Yeah, I'm gonna listen. I hate that I have to do this. Just like, listen, I had to file written requests, Spudwife, with the Ronald Reagan Library to get them to do an exhaustive search to prove that Pete Peterson was never employed by the Ronald Reagan administration. And they kept making me jump through hoops, like, your letter's not formatted right. Let me give you a form. And I had to do all of this stuff. And it kind of irks me sometimes, because sometimes I think, I could take my kid to the playground, or I could work on proving that David Wilcock is a fraud, right? I get a little bitter sometimes that I have to do this. Why do I got to do it? But nobody else is doing it. So I think it's important enough. I'm going to do it. My mom calls that a dirty laugh. Yeah? I'm a dirty guy, Spudwife. You have no idea. I'm a dirty man. Lamont, it's a good show, man. We are all still waiting. So if you're here, we are here. This is what I was saying. Yeah, you guys will sit here for 3 hours, but sometimes I don't have the 3 hours. But I appreciate, listen, I always say this. Thank you guys for being here and being in my audience. I'm always happy when there's an audience. I'm so glad you guys could be in mine. Let me drop that. Let me drop that banner thing there. We don't need that, but I'll put my funky graphic up. Or actually, also, I'm going to remind everybody to like, comment, and subscribe. Like and share this video. I need a bigger bullhorn. Do you know why sometimes the frauds win? It's because they have bigger bullhorns than the people telling the truth. And right now, that's the situation we're in. So I need a bigger bullhorn so we can have a greater effect and reach more people with that second red pill. I'd like to be that second red pill and help people come out of the fog of believing this fairy tale nonsense. And you can help. Here's how you help. You like, comment, subscribe, and share these videos. You email a friend that you think may be interested in this subject matter and say, hey, help this guy out and subscribe, because he's not making any money from YouTube right now. And that would be very helpful. And I'm not going to get the begging bowl out tonight. But I will say, I will put the banner up real quick. I'm not going to do the whole spiel. That takes too long, too. I'm just going to say we need your financial support to continue the show. Just please consider a PayPal donation. If David Wilcock can take donations for selling lies, I should be able to take donations for bringing people the actual truth. Or become a Patreon supporter. There's a whole lot of different benefits. It's only $1 a month or more, whatever you decide. And there are links in the About section of our channel. And if you just go to the main channel and hit About, there'll be, a button to donate on Patreon or donate. Patreon is monthly. So if you're willing to sign up on Patreon, that means you're going to send $1 or more a month. And by the way, some people have been very generous. Oh, and I have to do this. I have to go to Patreon and there's a new Patreon supporter today. And we always shout out the new Patreon supporters. Or people who donate by the PayPal donation. If you donate by PayPal donation, you get a shout out. So just add a note line, put your chat room user ID. Make sure if you give a PayPal donation, you use that add the note line and then put your user ID, whatever name you are in the live chat. You know, for example, if it's Jonaside, put Jonaside and then a space and then anything you want me to shout out. Everybody's been so nice. I said, I will read anything you want me to if you give a PayPal donation. And so far, nobody's sent me a shout out that makes me read something like, I love to suck big dicks. Not yet. Hasn't happened. But if you want me to say, I love to suck big dicks live on air, send that PayPal donation. I will shout out anything you put there. You could write, I love people to shit in my mouth. That's my fetish. Whatever you want, I'll shout it out. But so far, people have been pretty nice, right? People have been very nice. Usually people say something nice about the show, but you can say anything you want and I'll shout it out to you. And thank you profusely for your generosity and your support. So back to the Patreon. I just want to acknowledge the last few people that signed up to be Patreon supporters and thank them tremendously. And those would be Mark. I'm just going to give his first name. And we have Daniel from the Context and from the Warp podcast, recently became a Patreon supporter. Jacqueline recently became a Patreon supporter, and Melissa. So, you know, I'm so encouraged when I log in here because it says, yay, 4 new patrons. And that is a nice thing to see. I want to thank each of these new Patreon supporters for their generosity, support of the show. Means everything to me. Thank you so much, especially right now during a troubling time where everybody's short on money. Hey, I'm definitely short on money, which is why I'm begging for it on the internet. And I really appreciate and I'm humbled by everybody that's tried to step in with a couple bucks and help me keep doing this great work. And thank you to these new Patreon supporters. Again, that was Mark, Daniel from the Context and the Warp podcast, Jacqueline, and Melissa. Those are the last 4. But a big thank you to every Patreon supporter. And I wanted to say, I'd like to do a big banner that thanks people for being a Patreon supporter and put people's chat room user ID on there. But here's the problem. Everybody that's a Patreon supporter, a lot of them, I don't have your chat room user ID. I have a real name, and I don't want to share your real name. You may not want me to. So I think I'm going to do a project in the next week or 2 where I'm going to email everybody on Patreon and say, give me your chat room user ID. And then I'm going to make a nice banner, which will thank the Patreon supporters for their generosity and their support of the show and helping to keep the show going. And it really does help. I'll just drop out for a moment here and put up the usual general Patreon thank you banner. And thank you to every single person who has contributed on PayPal. We had Terry Joyce just give a really kind $50 donation last night, and Jonaside recently gave a very kind donation. A few others have given $50 donations. I'm going to check with them, and that was in the past week. I think people were feeling really in the Christmas spirit, and I gotta say, I love you for it. Your generosity and support is really, it really hit me when I saw that people had given these donations. It really humbled me and made me just thank God. So we had Terry Joyce with a $50 donation. Jonaside with a very kind donation. I think, is it maybe $6? Because it's a weird amount. It's like $5.21 or something. Maybe it's $6. Andrew Whitley, Andrew. I shouldn't be giving people's full. And then we had Juan with a $50 donation and Stian with a $50 donation. These are the most recent donations. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I really and truly appreciate it. Let me drop out here, and we're just going to play this banner to thank you supporters, both on Patreon and PayPal. Thank you guys so much. And did you notice? We're going to do a project where we're going to go add up all the money that David Wilcock collected on his live stream. Do you know, after listening to hundreds of hours of him while he's collecting super chat donations, well, maybe not hundreds, tens of hours I've listened to 20 or 30 of his live streams. He's never once thanked anybody that's sending him money. Not once. I don't recall him ever thanking somebody that sent a super chat donation. He doesn't even read them off. He just lets people donate. He doesn't thank anybody. I don't want to be that person. I want to have an attitude of gratitude, and I have such an attitude of gratitude for all of you guys that are chipping in a couple of bucks to help me continue this great work. Just going to drop out for a moment here. I'll be right back. Okay, so again, thank every one of you guys. It means a lot to me to have this much support. You know, I really, honestly, I thought I was going to be speaking into a void when I started this show, and we have steadily been growing and expanding, and that is a good thing to see. Like the donations are increasing, the Patreon is increasing. Whoa, and the sub count is increasing. So we got 10 new subscribers today. And I got to say that we lost 10 subscribers in the last week. And I have a feeling that had something to do with our coverage of certain Canadian show hosts, because he had a show. Yeah. So, to those people, hey, you're welcome back anytime. And I get it. If I piss you off, you're going to go, fuck this guy and unsub. But we're really at a critical time. We now need 162 more subscribers before we could possibly be monetized here. And if David Wilcock could be monetized and collect money from YouTube ads and super chat donations for selling people lies, well, then, God damn it, I think it's only fair that I be able to collect super chat donations and super chat donations and YouTube ad revenue for bringing people the honest to God truth when we have evidence that can back up that we're telling the truth. And guys like Wilcock don't have anything. They have their fake stories and their fantasies and their prophetic dreams. I've got reality on my side. I'll take it. Renee, I even have it on my phone when John has it on the TV. Well, thanks. That's more watch time. I truly appreciate it. That's another thing I was going to say. 2 more bits of business. We're doing good on the sub count. It's slowly rising, but we need to get the watch count up. So I'm really going to ask for some help here. If you're doing something, like let's say you're cleaning your house or you're, I don't know, cutting the grass. I don't know where you're at, what it's like, shoveling the snow, whatever. Please put on one of our shows. Let it play. Listen, while you're doing something else. If you missed a show, please watch a show. Watch it in its entirety. Also, we just put up these 2 Bob Lazar things that a lot of people haven't seen. Almost nobody I know has saw that lost interview of Bob Lazar. If you're interested in Bob Lazar and flying saucers in Area 51, that's something great to watch. It's about 40 minutes long. Please watch the whole thing. Or 30 minutes long. And then this Bible, few more people have seen that, but not in the high quality that we're giving it to you in. Please watch that. That'll help our watch time. If you missed a show, please watch them in their entirety. Let them play. Get through it, right? Watch them. So our watch time will go up. I think we're about half of where we need to be monetized. I thought we were doing so good that I wasn't really watching the watch time and just said, no, we're fine no, we're not fine on the watch time. We need higher watch time. So I appreciate anybody that can watch, especially a few hours at a shot. Right? If you got something going on, I don't know, me, sometimes I watch kids for 10 hours a day and I don't have shit to do. I would help a brother out watching his stuff to help him get the YouTube stats up. And I hope some of you guys will do that for me as well. Yeah, and here's the links to the Truthseekers About section if you do want to make a PayPal donation or become a Patreon supporter. And we will certainly shout you out, if not tonight. If we miss, and listen, that's another thing. If we ever miss a shout out because you make a payment, say something in the live chat, like check your PayPal or check your Patreon, and then I'll know, oh, okay, somebody signed up, and then I'll go. Once in a while, we miss someone, and when we do, I make it a point to apologize and shout them out even better on the next show. Nobody gets left behind here. Every supporter gets mentioned, thanked profusely. Whatever we can do, we'll do it. If anybody has any comments, questions, if anybody has any suggestions for future shows, I'm starting to make up a new, I actually got a little organized and got a calendar. And I'm going to put shows on calendars, and I'm going to make it a point to keep a more rigid schedule. I have, so that's my email. If you have any suggestions for shows, maybe you saw some cool conspiracy thing, cryptid creature, story about UFOs, whatever. If you have a suggestion for something you'd like to see us cover here on the show, you can email me at truthseekershow@gmail.com. Generally, I check that every day, and we'll get back to you. And if I think your story has, legs, I will mention when we cover the story that you brought it to me. We could use people to bring us some great stories. I want to share great stories here. And everyone knows a few great stories, right? So help us out. Send us some suggestions and we'll see what we can do. We are a viewer-supported show here. So if the viewers want to see it, I want to bring it to you. And with that, friends, I think we're going to wrap things up here. It's been a really long day for me. This will be the third video uploaded to our YouTube channel today. I mentioned something about the fact that I have to start working harder at this because I realized I was not getting, mostly because it's a point of the mind hack system, which you get on Patreon, that if you're not getting the results that you want, work harder. And I'm still short of my goals to get to those magic numbers. So I decided the only thing, I can't control this YouTube algorithm. I can ask for people to subscribe, like, comment, right? But I can't control whether people do that or not. The one thing that I can control is that I can work harder. That's the only card, that's the only control in this wheel that I have. I don't have any other, there's nothing else that I can, not getting the results that I want. And listen, we're making slow, steady progress towards the results that I originally wanted. It's just not going fast enough, and I'm impatient. I'd rather work a lot harder for the next few months and get these goals out of the way. So that's what I'm going to do. You can expect more frequent broadcasts. I've sort of talked this over with my wife, and I'm going to try to set things up so that I can do, maybe some days we'll do like a morning or early afternoon show and then a night show. But of course, I'm going to need good stories to cover. I have some, but I'd like your help with more. Yeah, it's on autoplay on my TV. Thank you, Lamont. I really appreciate that. Good night, friends and family. Love you all. Yeah. I'm so thankful you guys are all here. Like I said, I'm always happy when there's an audience. I'm glad that you guys could be a part of mine. And with that, friends, I think we're going to play us out here. So you can expect more shows. You can expect more content too, like this Bob Lazar pieces that we just uploaded. The one, almost nobody I know has ever seen that, even people that are really into Bob Lazar. That's truly, I titled it Lost Interview ? Because I'm not sure. Maybe it's out there more than I think, but I never saw that. And I was into Bob Lazar hugely. I don't recall that I've ever seen that interview. And it's an early interview with George Knapp. And we may get into in the future why I believe that that's not a very common video. I don't believe that people like George Knapp, Bob Lazar, or Jeremy Corbell want people to see that interview. And we're going to unpack why that is. But you want to pay particular attention, perhaps, to the part of the interview where Bob Lazar mentions reading all of John Lear's material. That's important. And we're going to unpack why that's important later and why people like George Knapp, Bob Lazar, and Jeremy Corbell might not want you to see him say that. So like I said, we're gonna wrap things up here, but I want you to know I'm going to be working harder than ever at this thing. We're going to be pumping out. I've got a lot of things planned and a lot of new content like this Bob Lazar, where it might not be a Truth Seeker show, but it might be, maybe I will go through and we're going to digitally restore and enhance other historically significant things to our community as a public service and put them here on our channel. Things like that. I'm struggling to go, all right, you have to work harder, but what do you work harder on? Do you just pump out more shows, or do you try some other things? Or maybe we'll try some special reports, things like that. Yeah. I'm doubling down, though. I will not be denied the goals that I originally set. And we're so close right now that I feel like It feels kind of like that point in a marathon where you know the finish line is not far off, and let's just sprint it out. Let's just sprint it out and finish strong to get to that goal, right? That's kind of how I'm feeling right now. And I think that's what I'm going to do. That's exactly what I'm going to do. And you guys will benefit. If you like the show, you're going to get more of them. If you like some of these things we upload that isn't really a show, but somewhat related to the subject matters we cover, you're going to get a lot more of that. So friends, now's a good time to wrap it up. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here. So until next time, friends, and there will be a show tomorrow, either at, I don't know what time. I'm going to put it on Twitter early in the day, though, I promise. It's either going to be 8, 9, or 10 p.m. Yeah, that really narrows it down, doesn't it? So I'm going to put it on Twitter early as soon as I can, though. As soon as I'm aware, I just have some things going on with my children and other stuff in my car, and I can't really I can't say today for sure. Sometimes that's going to happen with our schedule. It's just going to happen. So until next time, friends, my name is Stephen Cambion. Good night, and God bless all of you, even you, David Wilcock, and you, Daniel Brinkley, and you, Elizabeth Wilcock. God bless the three of you. And I hope that you may learn something from tonight's broadcast. Good night, and God bless all of you.
What if it was possible to learn how to hack or program your own mind? The truth is, your mind has already been programmed and controlled by others for years. But this is how you break free. This is how you learn to program your own mind and finally take control of your destiny. This is how you break that bondage. This is how you learn to hack your own mind and learn to finally be free. Welcome to Mind Hack. The Mind Hack system includes guided meditations, binaural beats for each brain state, motivational speaking, hypnotic inductions, and much, much more. The Mind Hack system puts you back in control. The Mind Hack system helps you reach your goals. The Mind Hack system helps you manifest your dreams into reality. By finally taking control of your own mind, you will learn to focus and take control of your own infinite potential. Welcome to Mind Hack.